G'day guys, how are you? Just leave it a few minutes until we get some people in, and then we will discuss the overall situation and the large updates we have around the Ayatollah Khamenei being killed in strikes. Sorry, I've opened my own stream. That's why you can hear me twice. I hope that you guys are doing well. I've got some rest. It was a long night streaming up until very late. And we can see that now Trump, he tweeted a couple of hours ago, or truthed, that Khamenei has been killed in strikes. And we do see that Iranian state media and then the supporting pages as well, that they are confirming this also. So we'll speak about the implications and the further considerations, both politically and strategically, from this as well. Joel Smith, thank you for becoming a member. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes before we get right into it, just to get some more people in the chat, and then we'll discuss this at length, as this is a very, very big day, of course, with the Ayatollah being killed, and there is a lot to break down and go over this. And one of the things I see a lot of is people who don't typically talk politics, haven't studied politics, now being complete experts in how overthrows work without looking at any source of history, at how both gunboat diplomacy works, as well as having basically a uprising within a state to be organic, to overthrow the government and install then a less radical government, which the history shows that this isn't really how this works most of the time. Typically, you can actually end up with a more radical regime in power. And as well, we need to look at then the one-man fallacy, that there is something, the one-man fallacy, that a state is not just one man. Even a radical dictatorship is not just a one-man state, that this can be replaced, and often is replaced with more radical people. This is why, say, that if Putin was taken out, you would see someone like Medvedev step in, and Medvedev, of course, is far less predictable than Putin may be, and far less strategically calculated, and with Medvedev, it's better the devil you know. So we do see that as well. There's a lot of considerations to take into account. Sam Cook, thank you for becoming the second member of the chat. People say Iran has confirmed. Yes, Iran has confirmed this, but we do see that strikes are continuing also. So the strikes have not stopped even since the confirmation that the Supreme Leader had been killed. Leon says, why wouldn't he be in a bunker? Well, it does appear that they were having a meeting between compound, and then that was struck and taken out, which there's a lot of questions around that. Again, I agree with Mr. Leon when he says, why the hell was he not in a bunker the entire time? Everyone knew this was coming. So again, there's a lot of questions that we won't likely get answers to today or tomorrow. So again, we will get a better idea in the future, but there's going to still be a lot of questions like that, of like, you know, if I was him, why would you leave a bunker at all when you have these growing threats developing everywhere around you? You knew this was coming. Mobile says 9-hour stream, sleep, back at it, you're the GOAT. Thank you, Mobile, brilliant, mate. I really appreciate that and your donation. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got some rest, I got some air, got some coffee, got some sunlight, and now we are back into it. So the big news is that Khamenei has then been killed. The Islamic Guard Corps vows severe and decisive punishment against the US and Israel following the death of the Supreme Leader. So we've had a lot of footage too of Patriots failing also. So this is one of the things that we do know a lot of air defense got used. And what is going to tell us about the success of this is you need to remember too, something I keep saying, and I know people don't like this in the new age of internet, but it's impossible to tell success early on. I say this when we have strategic strikes, say in Ukraine or Russia. You need to see, say, a manufacturing facility is hit and has damage to it. The way to measure the success, the battle damage of that, isn't there's a hole in the roof. It is, if this plant was making X weapon system, do we see that weapon system be influenced on the battlefield of maybe not coming to use? And this is what we're going to have with this war as well, is that we're going to have to see if this really impacts the operations from Iran wanting to resist, so strikes into then Gulf states, as well as further war. This is going to be one of the problems for especially America in this, because this is not politically popular, is going to be if Iran is still there in its current capacity in a couple of weeks, or even if the military capacity is reduced, but it has still got then the same regime, but maybe with different faces. If they are still in power, they're still firing missiles, etc. There hasn't been an organic popular uprising in the state. What then? And if that happens in a couple of weeks, what then? If it can't be done by strategic strikes, what then? And this goes down to if you are part of a regime like this, especially ideological ones, that time is on your side. And as unpopular as strikes have been, if there was deployment of forces, it would be unbelievably unpopular. So there's a lot of considerations to take into account. I think the main one is the one-man fallacy, that Khamenei has been killed. That's been confirmed by Iranian state media and pages connected as well. Will we see a replacement of that? You need to remember that they likely saw this as highly likely that he was going to be needing to be replaced soon. He was an 86-year-old man, as well as that him getting taken out, like we have seen multiple operations in taking out leadership in their regime, that there may need to be replacement. So will we see a replacement of this? Will it sink into chaos? If it does, what happens? If it doesn't, what happens? And the US is very, very reliant on then these protesters then taking over the state. This is what Trump says in, I'll show you the Twitter post, the truth post, sorry, let me clicked out of it 1 second. This is what he really echoes, is the idea that now is the time for the Iranian people to take back their state. And he's correct. Now would be the time to do it. The problem is, are they going to do it? So he was unable to avoid our intelligence. This is the greatest single chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. We're hearing a lot of the police forces no longer want to fight. Again, we still see a lot of strikes taking place. With everything from Trump, you do need to read between the lines around a lot of ego. So, but he is correct. This is the single greatest chance to take back their country. What we will see is how popular is this to actually do, to take back. And this is one of the issues that we're going to have, especially in a country like this, is a lot of the horrible natures in Iran sit with the active discrimination against females. Will they be able to rise up against this with limited support? Again, this is one of the things. So we're going to need to remember, though, too, that this regime was in a popular uprising from Iran as well almost 50 years ago. So that's an important, that's a very important aspect we need to look at. So this is where we're at a very dangerous crossroads. I know that everyone's celebrating complete victory. I know that. But what I'm saying is these people haven't looked beyond Venezuela a few months ago. They haven't looked at any other examples we have similar to this of decapitation or circumcision strikes in the Middle East, and then what unfolds from beyond, either protracted into conflict, reinstallation of another radical, etc. So there's a lot to be said around this. But the thing is, what I will say is, at this point in time, it's very, very early. We're not even in 24 hours of war. We're probably at 20 hours. So there's a lot. People laughing at the circumcision strikes. I think that's a funny way to rename the decapitation. So, again, yes, we will go through news that came out overnight. Realistically, a lot of this was just continued strikes as well. We do have then satellite imagery from Iranian missiles that struck the Ali Al Salim airbase in Kuwait. So we can see this, that this airbase has been hit very hard as well. And this is what we do see, is we see the continuation, even beyond the confirmation of the Supreme Leader's death. We do see that Iran, both government forces, IRGC, of course there's a lot of overlap in that, but are continuing the conflict and confrontation too. So keep an eye on that. This is where I don't see there is a clean off-ramp for the US, or at least not that the US has had a gamble, and of course they will have more information available than I. But the US's gamble is that we take out the leadership, we take out some key facilities, and the people of Iran overthrow the government. What I'm saying is I have doubts in how much popular support there actually is for that. And this is one of the problems as well, is there's people that will have not liked Khamenei, but will then go, but you came in, you took out our leader during Ramadan as well. So there's a lot of factors in this, and many people, and this is what you see, one of the very popular things to do that propagandists do on Instagram or Twitter, etc., is they like to oversimplify certain aspects. Maybe they don't have the capacity to add nuance and critical thinking to things. And it is completely reasonable to say there is people in Iran who saw that their leadership was radical, that did not represent them, and it was a terrible thing. But then they would say, but also they're not against being influenced from an outside state wanting to turn that over as well. So these are the problems. And again, if these protesters say, they rise up and go, yep, and this is the person that we want in power, remember, this is how the current regime got into power. If that happens and this person isn't incredibly friendly towards Israel and the US, if that isn't the case, well, the US is going to have to redo something like this as well. So it is subjective to who they want to put in power as well. So it is a all-round developing situation that I think relies on it relies on some very big question marks at this point in time. That's how I'll put it, because I do think that there may have been a drinking some of their own Kool-Aid for the resistance against the regime. Maybe not. Maybe it's larger than we think. This is one of the problems with propaganda, is the propaganda can influence your own decision-making as well. And as Kohler says, there are 93 million people. Yeah. The protests were big. They were big. Is it enough to retake this and then actually not only retake the country, but then install a less radical regime? That is the question. And again, history on overthrows from outside powers doesn't really show us, I shouldn't say really, it doesn't show us success in operations like this. What I would say is if Iran can hang in basically any capacity and continue strikes outside for a couple of weeks, there's going to be some big questions asked to the US around, well, what's the next step here, guys? What are we doing? Dara says, Sorbek desal plant in Israel is reported to be hit by ballistics. 85% of water in Israel comes from 6 desalination plants. Yes, Dara, I haven't seen the report of it being hit. I will look for that in a second, but it does bring up a very good point that as far as potable water, usable water, that Israel is very reliant on desalination plants. Of course, desalination is taking salt water, running that through a process and creating fresh potable water from this. And one of Israel's largest Achilles heels is desalination. And it wouldn't take that many strikes in some of these areas to really start a crisis with this. So that would be, for Iran, some of the targets we may see them fire ballistic missiles upon. Texas Monica says, glory to Christ. Slava Rossiya down with the tiny hats, big noses, glory to Jesus Christ. Texas having a bit of a prayer there in Orthodox. Thank you, Mr. Texas, for the donation. Right. Has the Strait of Hormuz been closed? As far as IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, reports that yes. Now, beyond that, I haven't seen much more than shipping companies speaking about the increase in insurance cost, which of course increases cost of transport. Therefore, it's put onto the buyer at the other end of these products. So, of course, this is just inflation. But closing the Strait of Hormuz would be, I believe, highly likely at this point in time. And if Iran continues to have the ability to strike areas of the Gulf states also. Sorry, let me ban this spammer. Hired user. There we go. Dubai Airport was hit. Yes. And the large building was also hit in Dubai too. The Burj Khalifa. I don't know if it was hit. I think this one has been like intercepted behind it, but we did see, maybe that hit. But we did see another one look on the front of it as well. We need to look at one of the most common points I'm seeing too, because it's like all these, it's like there was a letter sent out last night to all the propagandists to say these are the points we want you to touch on. You see a lot of echoing of the same points from people that have never spoken about geopolitics before, but now being experts on overthrows of governments, is around air defense systems. Now, let me put this at least from what I'm saying. It does appear that Iran still has some air defense coverage. Now, will the Israelis and Americans eventually, if the war continues, enjoy air supremacy over Iran? I think highly likely, yes. But we are still seeing at this point in time, large standoff from Iranian. Oh my God, we're still seeing a large standoff from US and Israeli planes in Iran. So we still are not seeing complete freedom of movement over the skies. So that does tell us about the ongoing threat of Iranian air defense. On that too, I see people talking about both Russian and Ukrainian air defense in the state. Now, this is some important pieces, is you need to remember, likely, as far as confirmed air defense equipment, the most modern equipment that they have had is the S-300, which is a very old jammable system. Still highly capable. It is really a highly capable system. It does punch above its weight, but it is a far older system. There are a lot of things on the rumour mill about systems being delivered. But again, as far as actually confirmed delivery, no, we have not had that. We haven't had, I can't remember what the system is called, a Chinese high-end air defense system. It doesn't appear that has been delivered. If it has, we haven't seen any confirmation of it yet. Again, that doesn't mean it's not there. We're just not seeing any strikes against it yet. So there is a couple of things at play here. So what could be happening is that these systems are in the state and they're being held in secured facilities for later activation, or that they weren't ever delivered. So that is what we'll see. But again, Iran's main power sits with offensive attack, which is in these, of course, missiles and drones, which we have seen create a lot of chaos over the Gulf states. We've seen Dubai airport hit, Kuwaiti airport hit, I believe Abu Dhabi airport hit as well. Is it confirmed or claimed that Khamenei is dead? Well, all I'll say is I haven't seen any evidence of it. I haven't seen an image of him, but I have seen that Iranian state media has said so. So I think that meets probably our threshold for it. So yeah, Iran has confirmed it. Again, would there be something else? Well, you never know. This is the image we spoke about last night with Bibi Netanyahu and this book called Allies at War on his desk. Remember, these are staged images, so it's always interesting. Again, Tehran still under attack. There's still strikes ongoing. Let me know if you're seeing anyone who's updating as far as strike by strike. Let me know that as well, as I will go to find that. Remember to, guys, to hit like. If you're in the chat, there's 2,500 of you, to hit like as well as leave a comment in the chat. Of course, when we log off, we go down to the bottom of the algorithm again. So we want to push our way back up. So yeah, please leave a chat, get that going as well. Hit like and go from there. Statement from, here we go. So from Open Source Intelligence, is saying, statement from the General Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces will make enemies of the nation, especially criminal American evil Zionist regime, regret this with the power of steadfastness and the support of the noble people. We continue the path of the wise and strong leader until the last drop of blood and the surrender of enemies. And then Ozint 613 says they're about to get another beatdown. Like I said in the beginning, though, time is on the side of regimes like this, especially ideological ones, like we saw against the Afghanis versus Soviets, communists in Vietnam, the coalition versus then Taliban, whatever one you look at. That if the lesser powerful regime or ideology can just stay there, then the expense for the larger militaries just starts increasing dramatically. And this is what I have said, is the US need to have success in this in likely a week, maybe 2 weeks. Beyond that, there's going to be significantly more questions asked, and the initial overall optimism will start really then fading away as well. Thank you from Avrind Sudaharan on PayPal. Appreciate that donation. Thank you, guys. Again, no need to donate, but I do really appreciate it. It does help out me a lot with the streams. Again, this is a good example of when there is a good system enter a battlefield somewhere, we see analogues of it. So US CENTCOM has announced the first use of low-cost unmanned Lucas one-way attack drones. And as you can see, this is just an analogue of a Quran, which is an analogue of a Shaheed. So I will say what you will about the Iranian military, the Shaheed has been a very, very successful system. Someone says you're pessimistic. No, I'm cautious. I'm not going to celebrate victory in the first 24 hours I'm not going to celebrate victory of something like this in 24 hours, knowing historically how we've seen this unfold in the weeks, months, and years prior. Mr. Devon Dixon, 9407, says, this guy's really good. I've seen him on the Scott Horton show. I'm glad he got into my feed just in time. Devon, mate, lovely to have you. Always a pleasure to be invited as a trusted commentator with Mr. Scott Horton. Of course, as far as being able to pull up like anecdotes and times and what politicians said, Scott Horton's brain works in an unbelievable manner. His book, I've actually got it here. Wait a sec. This Scott Horton book, which caused a large stir, this Provoked, which I've made a mess of, it's been floating around, is just bloody, like, how many pages is this? It's almost 700 pages of just text and references to where people said things, what happened leading up to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Golem UK, thanks for being back in here again, brother, said Willie is where the realists congregate. Yeah, and that is the thing. He's a realist is typically realists do tend to be. I can't remember who said this. It might have been, maybe it was Mearsheimer. He's more of one of the most famous, what people call offensive realists. That realists do tend to be pessimistic. It's not pessimistic, it's just be far more cautious. And I think that being cautious has served us in our predictions and our reporting. I think that's served us very well. Say with late last year, with Russia is running out of fuel because of this, that, blah, 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 and they're going to be out of fuel in a week. And we said, hold your horses on this. Let's do a little bit more research. Let's wait and see the effect. And again, what did we see? We saw no real measurable impact on diesel to the front line. Zachy Evans, who's in here a lot, thank you. If there is no popular uprising, is this a Trump off-ramp? A popular uprising might draw the US into prolonged involvement. The thing is, Zach, there's a couple of things there. What if there isn't a popular uprising, though? Okay, if there is no popular uprising, what does then Trump do? Because then his whole bit has been, we need to dismantle the entire regime. And the regime doesn't sit with Khamenei. This is the one-man fallacy. The regime doesn't sit with him. It doesn't sit with an individual. It sits with an idea. That's one of the issues with decapitation or circumcision strikes. That's one of the problems. So if there is no popular uprising, I don't know what then the US does. If there is an uprising, well, the US will want to support that through intelligence operations and basically to create conditions to have a government overthrow and install the government, which, if that happens, I guarantee in 50 years, like the last time we installed government in Iran, in 50 years' time, you'll go back and be like, or at least we encouraged a government in Iran, we'll see a problem again. Because there are conditions. Remember, if there is a popular uprising in Iran, it needs to be a pro-Israel, pro-American uprising if the US and Israel isn't going to then hammer this back down. So that's the problem. That's conditional on that. It's not conditional on you guys get to pick your new leadership. It's no, pick your new leadership has to be sit within this very small, these very small goalposts to exist in this region. But again, if there's no popular uprising, if we see some of the leadership taken out, we see strikes against facilities like you're seeing here, and then we don't see a popular uprising, my question is, what then does the US do? What then do they actually do? what did Kissinger? Someone said it's a death sentence for the Iranians. What did Kissinger say? To be an enemy of the US is dangerous. To be a friend is a death sentence or is fatal, I think he might have said. Which very few know better than than Kissinger of how internal US realism posing as liberalism works in international relations and affairs. If you had to guess, how many troops do you think Russia or Ukraine are losing per month just dead? I think it would be significantly less than we're being told. Way less. So the claim of 30,000 we see, that would basically mean that there's 10,000 dead. I think it would be probably a couple of hundred a day. I think it's probably, I don't know, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 a month dead, maybe. But again, that's just pure speculation. But that's trying to work more closely with numbers that we might have from UA losses or media zone numbers as well. So who's saying this? So Counterintelligence World CIG is saying Supreme Leader Khamenei reportedly put in place detailed plans for succession and emergency chains of command in the event of his death, alleviating longtime loyalist Ali Larijeh to manage the crisis and become the de facto leader of Iran. So this is the thing, is surely Khamenei knew, or they're reporting that he knew that it was likely that he was either going to die of bloody old age, he's 86, 87 years old, or that he was going to be taken out. That then you create succession plans for what comes next. What the US cannot afford. The US cannot afford politically, economically, and militarily. They cannot afford for this to escalate from what this is into a protracted conflict, Iraq, Afghan. They cannot do it at the moment. The international support is not going to be there. The domestic support is not going to be there, as well as economically, things like this are unbelievably expensive. And in my opinion, the Gulf Arab states don't have the ability to launch successful ground ops here. Those states are far more powerful on paper than they actually are in carrying out military operations. Let me just read a couple of bits. Oh, sorry, I am really tired. Is the war already over? Well, there's still strikes ongoing. The war is either over or just getting started. Varad Haranj says, this is the second regime change in a matter of months across the world by the US. How much dynamic change will this have with US in the Middle East and allies? Look, that I know that the guy running for leadership in Florida, I believe his name is like Fishbank or something. He has said at the end of the day, we can't set a standard that the way we negotiate is by leadership assassination removal. That is a very dangerous path to start going down because, well, it also sets a precedent and also it makes states go, we're not going to negotiate with you if that's the way you deal with this. So absolutely can change a lot of dynamics across the world, not just in the Middle East. One thing I do believe why the Americans have a lot of success in some of these Gulf states is, and you can light up the chat if you believe I'm wrong in this, is that the states care more about making money than their ideology. So thank you for your question and your donation, brother. CL says 1489, isn't regime change good for Ukraine? As far as regime change in Iran, it'll have no noticeable effect in Ukraine. The largest effect this will have on Ukraine is the absolute lack of Patriot missiles around the world. Cock is me says Khamenei was the guy who banned nukes. Just saying, I've seen a lot of people saying this. I've seen a lot of people say the number one person like preventing further nuclear proliferation in Iran has now just been taken out. So there are people suggesting that there was a US ship that may have been hit. The fantastic international relations geopolitical expert of Tommy Robinson is going off, probably on a private jet somewhere. This is very, very funny. Getting reports, little known IRGC commander has emerged, filled leadership void in Tehran. I got to post this on my Telegram. That's very funny. Probably with Bieber and Golik, whatever his name was. Lone Wolf said, did you get any sleep? I did, but it was pretty broken. And I'm bloody tired, which is annoying. Right, so I still want to see, let me, what I want to look up is, has the Chinese ministry made a statement? Someone says Dog Handler or Doge Handler says Prigozhin was a real character. He was. I said the other day in the war that there are people in this who have become like, I forgot exactly how I worded it, but along the lines of they became like actors in a sitcom almost, and Prigozhin was absolutely like that. I can't see anything on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website from China, but there is, let me go back to this, China Pulse, who I don't follow. When was this posted? 28th. Oh, this was a couple of days ago. I'm still trying to see if there's any official release from China regarding these strikes. Andrew Tate's going off. I tell you, Twitter today is just an absolute cesspit of uninformed, uneducated, but with overconfidence in opinions. This is one thing I'll say. As you begin educating yourself more and more and more, you become less and less confident in many opinions that you hold. So those with the loudest voices and the most stern of opinions and belief in their own knowledge typically are actually some of the least informed or educated on situations. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Thank you, Squanky. Yeah, Jimmy Carr has a fantastic chapter in a book about Dunning-Kruger effect, and I tell you, it's been worse and worse. Okay, so the Middle East Spectator statement, IRGC, So Middle East Spectator is saying that rest assured military operations will continue and the country is in good hands. Ayatollah Khamenei has been martyred this morning. Today's strikes were coordinated and carried out. The country's leadership is in the hands of the President, Chief Justice, and a jurist by the Expediency Discernment Council. After that, the Assembly of Experts will begin deliberations on a new Supreme Leader. A lot of footage of the streets of people mourning. See, this is one of the things that many people didn't see. Of course, everyone shared footage everywhere of the anti-regime demonstrations in Tehran. But what a lot of people didn't see was the amount of pro-regime demonstrations as well. I'm just trying to see if we've got anything new. Oh, I had a message back. Let me double check. I want to check on a couple of things. Let me look at the Brent crude price of oil. What I will be very interested in is in a couple of days to see when the US stock market opens, to see the change in the S&P. Thing is, what I will say, and I didn't read the full article on this, but there was an economist I was reading recently who said one of his concerns is the market no longer is responding to huge events. What he sees is a big indicator of the craziness of times we live in. And what he was basically saying is in the past, you have something, you had the virus, you've had a war, you've had whatever, that the market absolutely has a huge immediate change, up, down, whatever, where over the past 4 years since, say, Ukraine, we've had so many extreme events that the market now just absorbs them and does barely move. And he saw that as a big indicator of the craziness of the times. Oh, I think I missed a super chat. Martin says, who would trust anyone that commits a genocide in Gaza? Well, I guess complicit states within that and compromised. PJ Jackson says, isn't Iran 40% Muslim? Not to my knowledge. Iran is almost exclusively Muslim. You may look at, there's a breakup of Sunni and Shia, and I believe that it is significantly more Shia, up 85 and 90% than Sunni, but it's highly religious. All right, let me just check something on here to make sure this is running all right. As you know, Iran still will have better internet than Australia. I say that as a joke, but it's many a true word spoken in jest. Right, we are seeing, some are saying that there's strikes being launched from Iran. One thing I will say is I can't find a good, while AMK is asleep, I can't find a good replacement for him doing like up-to-date strikes. More people pouring onto the streets to mourn Khamenei. Again, this is what I say is and people people don't like this. I said it last night. Is it doesn't matter what the Iranian diaspora, if they're cheering, great, good on them, good on them. But again, they're not going to be the ones to actually face the weapons of the IRGC if they want to overthrow the government. So it's not a great indicator of what the Iranian diaspora is saying. We need to look at what Iranians in Iran are doing. That's what we need to see. Combat Care Bear, thank you for the 50 gifted memberships. People will massively, massively appreciate that. US strikes used Anthropic's Claude AI system despite Trump banning it a few hours before. All clear from drones. I think in the next couple of hours, it'll likely be an increase in strikes again around the same time, early morning time, as we saw yesterday. Someone said that crypto is green. I'll have a look. Eden's Mind, thank you for your donation, as well as Fat Man says more protests in Melbourne and Sydney. Oh yeah, Melbourne just loves a protest though. Someone said monitor X. Someone said monitor X. Here we go. Actually, I believe monitor X is one of the accounts we were looking at last time. Madischa says another glass of wine if you get to $500. Yeah, sure, we can do that. Well, yeah, there'll be a glass of wine at $500. I don't actually know how to. I was able to previously have a goal that we could have reached, but now I don't know how to do that. So let's look at what Monitor X is saying. He's got nothing up for the last 30 minutes. Okay, but I will go with Magistrate. Magistrate. Sorry, I'm reading it like a number plate. I will agree. If you reach 500, I'll have a glass, and you were at $2, so we're at $2. I'll even write this down. I'll keep a list because I don't know how to do this through the chat. What are we at currently? $2. But I was able to set a goal. Oh, here we go. Goal amount. Shit, I don't know how to do this. 10 super chats, 50 super chats. How do I do a goal of money? I don't know how to do it. I'm just going to write it down. PayPal will work too through the pinned comment link. Seeing a conversation about, what ground forces do, and people say that the strikes are bad, already politically bad enough. Ground invasion would not be viable anymore. Like political. Thought we were supposed to do 100 mil deep in rain today. Yeah, Tyler James, we were meant to be. So we're at 12 at the moment with Tyler. It was meant to rain all day, but it's just super, super humid and muggy. In Adelaide where I live. Bloody shocking. How much up to now? 12. And the goal is 500. Which is an astronomical goal. It's a silly goal. What is 10 SEK? It's $1.50. They're at $13.50. Oh my God, the currency's killing me, guys. Wait. We're going to do something else. 50 at 10. Timer, 1 hour. Right. Okay, we've set a goal. I'm not typing this out through. I'm not doing krona. I'm not doing shekels. Right. It is pretty bloody quiet at the moment. Yeah, but one of the big things I wanted to say on this was the US can't risk politically, economically, getting stuck into a much longer war. So it's going to be very interesting how the next hours, days pan out. Because again, like I said, the US is by Trump's tweet, the US is relying on the Iranian people overthrowing and having a revolution from inside. Trump has said Iran's retaliatory response was as expected. We thought it'd be double. Thus far, it's been less than we thought. Okay, so Trump's saying less than we thought. Again, we will see. We do know that the response was far quicker than a lot of us expected with the example of the 12-day war. Thanks for going live, Sup Girl Canada. Thanks for coming back in. It's great to have you here. As well as Barktus, thank you for the gift of memberships. I'm sure people will super appreciate that. I want to change this goal because it wasn't. I want that counting 50. We're starting the goal in a different way because we didn't fill any of the actual requirements. Maddie Perry says, what's the chance Saudi are joining strikes on Iran in retaliation? If so, does Pakistan's honour its defence agreement with them? Look, I wouldn't know exactly about the Saudi Arabian and Pakistani defence agreement, although that could be voided in this. I do think it could be likely. We do see some Gulf states striking. That said, at the moment, they don't need to. Like, why would they when the US and Israel are using their own resources to do so? PJ Jackson says US is not positioned for a ground invasion. Not only not positioned militarily, they're not positioned economically or politically to step into something like this. As far as a ground invasion, it would just be so unfathomably unpopular. Man, what do you think the consequences are of this war? Well, one of the largest is this mixed with Venezuela is the precedent set of basically gunboat diplomacy of conducting diplomacy at the end of a barrel of leadership assassinations. If you have a leadership who is not working with you, you don't like them, then you knock them out. And I think that is remember Trump saying that Obama will start a war because he can't do diplomacy. Well, this is one of the precedents we're seeing being set from South America now to the Middle East. Lone Wolf says, crikey, Iran is angry now. Steve Irwin. Check your woe. It became an average Willie. Thank you very much. Willie, how many leaders has China killed and kidnapped in the last 10 years? Can you name them? Thanks, Willie. Well, I can name them because it's, to my knowledge, none. There's been a lot of internal kidnappings, capturing of powerful people, but externally, no. And that's one of the things I mean about setting precedents around this is dangerous too. The Don 2010, thank you. Yeah, I don't know how you do the goal thing. How does that work? I thought it would be automatic. God's sake, I don't know. Tina Ballerina says, US launched more than 250 interventions since 91, while China built the world's most extensive high-speed rail system and actually puts in more high-speed rail per year than every other country on Earth combined. It's amazing when you save $9 trillion from war. TJ says, thank you for your time and effort, Willie. No, thank you, mate. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So Monitor X, he's saying that Iraqi resistance begins its attacks on US bases in Iraqi Kurdistan. Erbil targeted as well. Check your woe. Thank you again. Yes, I did miss showing you this. Palam brings up about the Patriot system with, I believe, 3 missiles fired. I'll find it. Did miss a rocket coming in. And what we do need to also take into account is these are far less, or maybe not far less, but the Russian cruise and ballistic missiles will be of superior quality, therefore harder to be targeted, or than the missiles that Iran is firing, at least on the most part. And we have seen a lot of Patriots not being able to intercept some of these. I believe this is the video. Oh no, I don't think that is. Daytech Priest. I see this is a likely rallying around the flag moment. The US better hope the IGC doesn't step in as an intern government or off-ramp style. Well, that is what could happen, Daytech, is the IGC, they step in as the interim government, and the US is then faced with a almost radical group of almost like guerrilla forces to a degree, which strategic strikes have very little impact against. Pickle says this is the Pickle Fund. Yes. Right. Vladimir. Oh, shit. Patricia says, start chilling the wine. Okay, so we are at... So Patricia has had the largest donation by a mile. Sorry, I will write these down as well. So Patricia, she's put 100 in for the wine fund. Thank you, Patricia. That's unbelievable. Henry Organ says, thanks for your informed, level-headed reporting. Top notch. That brings us to 120. And then Vladimir says, respect with 50. So they're bringing it up to 170. So we're almost halfway to our goal to have a glass. Turtle Time, thank you for the donation as well, brother. Right, I want to find that video to show you of the Patriot, because we know there is a world shortage of air defense interceptors of AD. Ukraine, of course, is desperate for more of it, and a lot of it is being soaked up in this war. Let me search for this another way. Oh, so PJ Jackson says China, also a third country by the UN, also gets funding from the UN. Not as third world, but as developing world. It does have some special exemptions to things as well. And America has pushed back a lot on, how can China be a developing country? And China's response has been, well, we are always going to be a developing country because we're continuing to develop. I'm trying to find the Patriot that was having a bit of a hard time. Better be some good wine, Willie, from Riley Y. I think it'll be finishing some of the bottle I had last night. Thank you, Riley. Fucktra says one small sip for Willie, one giant stream for mankind. Yes, exactly. Where is this video? Does anyone know where there's a video of a Patriot missing basically 3 interceptors? Okay, here we go. Fabian Hoffman. Fabian Hoffman is an air defense expert. So, Mr. Hoffman, let's have a look at this. King Husky, thank you, Sphincter Knuckle. Cheers, mate. So, Doctor of Research, Nuclear Oslo, blah, 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 Defense Missile Technology. So, he's done a lot about the Flamingo, but then also the Qatari SAM battery, fighting off incoming Iranian ballistic missile raid over Doha. But from the interceptor's launch and the possible interception visible, this must have been a fairly large volley. Oh, that's still not the video. Oh, here we go. So from this guy who is an expert, 3 interceptor launches, 3 misses. You can see what appears to be thrust vectoring on at least one of them, suggesting that 1 or possibly more were PAC-3 missiles. So Haikadachi says, thanks for your level reporting, mate. Top notch. Thank you, brother. As well as we have a PayPal of Walter Electronics, who has said, oh, I accidentally closed the message. Let's find it. Glad to see you live again. Good work the last months. Thank you, brother. That brings us to 210. So we are over halfway to the wine goal. So yes, we do see the Patriot system here unable to intercept this Iran with 3 missiles being fired. I live in South Africa. Should I just get KMS? No, not at all. So people are reporting that the Strait of Hormuz is getting closed. We heard rumours of it last night. A Gronka Bear, thank you for becoming a mini Willie as Slayer. Love and respect your work. Keep it up, brother. Thank you, Slayer. Appreciate that, mate. All right, so let's look at what Fabian has shared here. Big Hal, I can't read your full name. As in enjoy the vino. I think the US dropped the ball, knowing the pulse of the Iranian people to rise up. Thinking only bombs could overthrow 47-year dictatorship. Pray I'm wrong. And I think you're touching a good point there. I think the US they have calculated that they will strike, and then we will see a rise up from the Iranian people. The thing is, I say that that's still a pretty big gamble. Jeffrey Wright, thank you on the PayPal, says keep up the good work. That brings us to 223. So we're well over halfway there. Is it true an Israeli F-15 was shot down? Not that I have seen. I've seen some footage that shows a jet going down, but I can't confirm that. Billy PM says, is Willie PMC the greatest PMC in the world? Yes, absolutely it is. We're waiting for our call up to go and invade. The average llama says, I'll be glad to help Willie Weingold, even though I'm more of a whiskey man myself. I'm a whiskey guy, but I'm not going to drink that at early afternoon in Australia when I'm this tired. Right, Daytech Priest says, for the wine fund, thank you for your hard work. Watching your videos every day after work kept me well informed on Ukraine and now this. Thank you, Daytech Priest, mate. I wish I wasn't this tired. I'd be doing a better job of it. But we did speak in the beginning about some of the considerations we need to take into account and some of the assumptions, I think dangerous assumptions the US has. Can you post a source for Strait of Hormuz closure? Zach, I'll have a look right now. I'm just seeing a lot of pages suggesting this. So this is the post I wanted to look at that Fabian reshared from Colby Bandwa. It says the first 24 hours will be decisive. The window for Iranian regime to retaliate ballistic missiles narrows with every passing second. The USAF IF hunt down more TLs further degrade the command and control. Many have launched little, but little effect it seems. US theater missile defense is working as intended. Weak point, if you can call it that, seems to be the counter drone, the Gulf. See, there's parts of this I agree with and parts of this I disagree with also, because I do think you need to take into account that the 12-day war showed the opposite of this. The 12-day war showed in the beginning, the first 24, 36 hours, really 48, even out to 72 hours, was the weakest response points for the Iranians, and that they were able to get a lot more missiles off beyond that time, and more success as in these areas the air defense starts degrading, primarily through allocation of interceptor. So I disagree with this. I actually think it's going to be more, as far as strikes, time can be on Iran's side with this if they can get them off. Again, the air defense in these Gulf states is not going to be in massive stockpiles. Nell says, he said, a win to the Ayatollah preventing Iran moving forward with a nuclear bomb. How do you think the West will react if Iran detonates one in the next 6 months? Again, we will see this go again. I swear, if following this, we see again the idea of imminent development of a nuclear weapon, the people who must, if in a month we see we need strikes against imminent development of a nuclear weapon in Iran, I will lose faith in all humanity for being dumb enough to believe that for the first 30 years, and then after we were confirmed obliteration, and then after this. Blitzen, thank you for becoming a Mega Willy member. If it's white wine, do we get a refund? Yes. I don't drink white. Great work. The unforeseen consequences seem lost on Western military planners in Sydney. I hope you're doing well, mate. And yeah, I do think a lot of people are missing the forest through the trees, and they're not willing to look back just 20 years. All I ask you is look back 20 years and see the success we've had in similar operations that initially appeared to be incredibly successful. Geo says long-term cost is everyone to move off the USD. And this is one of the costs of the US political theatre at the moment and actions is people are going, major states are going, with the weaponization of this, the inability to conduct good faith diplomacy, we need to move away from the dollar, which is where the US power actually sits. At the end of the day, the US has the most powerful military, but having that, maintaining that is unbelievably expensive as well. Cosmic Wave Rider says the conflict needs to wrap up quickly. Any drag will be negative for the US and IDF. Global economy will be in shambles. Boots on the ground will be bad. I completely agree with that. That these Gulf states, they prioritize money and they will be going, the amount of money that this is costing us is astronomical by these being closed. Do something about it. There are multiple pages reporting clashes between Iraqi police and protesters. Protesters trying to storm the US embassy in the Green Zone in Baghdad. Apparently direct hit on American base in Iraqi Kurdistan, Erbil. Let me see if this is being shared anywhere else. Since when are wars won with airstrikes only? Never. Never. People point to Yugoslavia. It's not a great example of it. People says Iraq will be pissed. Yeah, well, Iraq is currently doing the Spider-Man meme of everyone pointing at each other, hey? So this is the US base in Iraqi Kurdistan. And apparently there are protesters in Baghdad trying to storm the US embassy. Right. So, yeah, things in third states are really heating up. I think that in the next couple of hours, it's likely that Mr. AMK, who's probably sleeping like a big giant croissant at the moment, will wake up and then we'll start getting really good play-by-play updates. Gerson says the world will see the US as a vassal of Israeli elites. I think most of the world see that anyway. And I think a lot of people, a lot of voters in America are starting to see that. This is why I said that this war needed to happen basically in the next month. Because if it didn't, it never would. And that Israel clearly saw that if this doesn't happen now, it's not going to be able to occur in the future. Johnny says, if Iran ever did a successful nuclear test, would Israel make that whole country hotter than the sun the next day? Also, chug, chug. So we're getting there on the goal. I don't think so. I think if they did a nuclear test, that would just change the landscape of the powers in the Middle East. And the thing is, Israel at that point might actually have to admit to having nuclear weapons. I just wanted to bring this up to show that AMK went from 50,000 followers yesterday to 157,000 followers in under 24 hours. Unbelievable growth. 100,000 in 24 hours. Mr. Zach says, I wonder if the US administration warned US forces in Iraq. 200,000 share militia fighters in Iraq as of 24. Hopefully no NATO pers get caught in the crossfire. I hope so. There's a lot of competent fighters in Iraq. US CRAM active over Erbil International Airport. War is good for business. War is good for some businesses, but you end up paying the piper on it too. It's good for stock prices and very big companies, not for the people who end up fighting in them, but also just the average taxpayer as well. Lockie said, your stream last night was 100 times larger than Mr. Drew Pavlu's. You made it, Willie. Look, I think that's just, I have, I believe, a significantly larger following on this website. And I'm sure that there's channels with a larger following than mine that blew mine out of the water as well. That, at the end of the day, it's not a dick measuring contest whatsoever. Rayanora says, what are the chances and in what scenarios would Russia and China get involved actively? I think highly unlikely in any of this. One, Russia is already pretty extended in the war in Ukraine. And then China has a incredibly passive is the wrong word, but I'll use it. Very passive approach to interfering in external military operations. China, who sees himself as so Chinese refer to China. They don't call it China in China. They call it Gunzhou, I believe. What it is stands for Middle Kingdom, all under heaven, and then they see that is basically the center, and they don't want to interfere well outside of that. They will only do it if it's really affecting them existentially, which this isn't. It will affect some oil, it'll affect some stuff, but it also extends their major competitor, which of course is America. Kenneth says, do you think Iran will have C2 problems, both command and control? Oh, anyone will have C2 problems with this amount of hits, absolutely. Will they be able to overcome that? Well, again, if you're not looking at history, you're making stuff up. That doesn't mean that we're going to be right, okay? It doesn't mean that. But again, you need to look at history. And what we saw in the 12-day war was we saw huge amounts of commanders be killed, and we saw that in under a week, basically at a week, that Iran overcame a lot of its C2 deficiencies and had more strikes. So, we need to look at that too. Martin says, after this, they'll accuse Putin of waging unprovoked aggressive war. Yeah, it'll be stick in the spokes again, and it'll be this is Putin's fault. Someone says, I'm worried about who's in left of nuclear material of a dirty bomb. Yeah, and this is a real threat. I spoke about this back after Fordow. It was at least before Fordow was hit, we knew where 400 kilograms of nuclear material was, or radioactive material. Now, there's 400 kilograms, fuck knows where, and if that got sprinkled into a warhead somewhere of a hypersonic, which we know can break through defenses, it's bad news. Shia Muslims in Indian-controlled Kashmir have risen up and through police barricades. Again, this is a consideration as well, is you have taken out a Muslim leader during Ramadan. You have to take into consideration, whether you believe that's right or wrong, I don't care, for this consideration, is you have to consider that Muslims around the world are doing Ramadan, and we'll see this at one of the most spiritual times, one of the most sensitive times, that we could see a lot more actions. We are over halfway to the wine goal. Oh, my Twitter's not working. There we go. We're back. Sorry, I thought I could hear something. Lagging in full screen cam. Yeah, I'll reduce the camera. I think the full screen is lagging for some reason. Maybe it's the quality I've got on that one. Again, Australian internet is amazing, guys. Trying to buy white wine. We're not doing white. Sam Murphy has brought us up to 243. So with that combined with the goal here, we are more than halfway through to a glass of wine goal. I'll get to his question because he said, I emailed you a question, Sammy. I'm opening that question right now, bro. So just while that opens, let me do pixelated message. How long do you think Iran can continue to fight? Oh, that's anyone's question. But what I will say is likely a lot longer than people think. PJ Jackson said, Willie's on the mark about waiting. Trump's put a lot of faith in citizens to rebel against the government, which I think is a mistake. This is just my thing, is I think it's a large gamble. It's a fucking large gamble to launch these strikes with the reliance on an external, unreliable third party doing the overthrowing. Like, this is the thing, is it's like we're launching this and we're betting that you guys are going to overthrow the regime and the IRGC and all of this and put yourselves in harm's way for that. I tell you, it's a big gamble. It may pay off. History has shown, though, it doesn't always. Jason says, never allow your enemy to build forces on your coast. Always very, very risky. And Mr. Tiskauer, thank you for a fantastic donation. What will happen now that the Supreme Leader is dead? Well, it depends how good the secession plans actually were. And apparently there was plans in because he knew that he was either going to die of old age or be taken out. And, it was pretty clear that there was going to be attempts to take him out. What happens now? Well, there will be a little bit of a power vacuum. We will see if they can fix that. But I think they will still see a lot of Iranian strikes into the surrounding states. Duke says, long-time appreciator, how long before Iran refuses to accept US-Israel timeouts presses their advantage in a protracted conflict? I don't think long. The thing is, Iran does have the advantage of time. They do have the advantage of time. That is what a state fighting at home who is ideological has. The level of power between the Soviets and the Afghanis, or the Afghanis and the coalition, it's not even bloody measurable, but they had time, and we saw the outcome of both of those. If Iran falls, is the multipolar order cooked? No, not whatsoever. If anything, it actually cements it, because people see that we can't deal with these powers. Right, Sammy Murphy, he says, hey, Girthy Willie, what would you say from a realist perspective, the foundational goal of regime or a biological entity or system, for that matter, is survival? Would you say yes? So would you say that the foundational goal of a regime is survival? Yes. It's survival and to try to gain relative power increase against neighbours. That is both offensive and defensive realism, and just realism in general. If that's true for a regime that has the world empire breathing down its neck, there's no rooms for freedom's liberties, because any that are given are taken advantage of by the world empire to undermine the regime. The regime's stifling of liberties becomes propaganda for the world empire, even for excuse to settle a war, which leads to further crackdowns on liberties. It's because self-sucking, freaky lollipop type thing of each entity's actions are a reason for another entity to double down. This obviously not justify action of any government or regime. I'm just interested to hear your thoughts. And you bring up, Sam, a fantastic point. This is the thing, is for a regime to survive, which their number one priority is survival, regime survival. If you start increasing liberties and another regime doesn't like yours, they will leverage those liberties to try to undermine your regime. So then that regime is this self-fulfilling prophecy of restricting liberties to remain powerful, because any lifting of liberties will be then exploited by a third party. And what you've just explained massively is my knowledge on a lot of the Chinese censorship. When I speak to people in China about the censorship around media, they go, it's twofold. Half of the censorship is to push government propaganda narrative. But the other half of the restriction of social media liberty censorship is to stop other parties taking advantage of that, because we know if that opened up to Facebook and Instagram and OnlyFans and all of this stuff, that then instantly there would be a whole campaign against then the regime in power. Metro stations in Tehran are full of people chanting in support of Khamenei. This is the thing. The Germans knew this. Churchill knew this. As well, the Ukrainians know this. The Russians know this, and they're learning this. Is that a lot of strategic strikes don't create dissent towards the government. It cements support for the government. They knew this. The Blitz cemented support for the Brits. Absolutely. They knew this. They knew it can have the opposing effect. And this can go one of two ways. I know that Trump is going, these strikes, there's going to be uprising, and next thing we're going to have a liberal democratic government in Iran. Good luck with that. Does any functional state, any of the most functioning states, richest, astronomically wealthy states in this area of the world have a liberal democratic government? So that's a ridiculous. But you want a pro-America government here. The problem in all this is, well, a lot of strategic strikes do the opposite. And even people that go, we hated that government, but that was our government. Iraqi police now using tear gas and water cannons on the protesters in the capital. Mujahideen has claimed a strike on the US base. What? It's going off. Joseph Decker, thank you, brother, for the donation. I appreciate that, man. Your third donation. Thank you. Right, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to get a can of drink. I'm so tired. I'm going to get like a Pepsi Max. I'll be back in a second. Rob Bertram, good to see you back in the chat, mate. Looking good, Matty. Thank you, Rob. Great to have you back. Right, let's do some refreshing and see what is being updated. Zoran Mamdani says US strikes on Iran are a catastrophic escalation. He says, we do not want another war in pursuit of regime. We want peace. Of course, the mayor of New York. Dude, my internet sucks. I'm just going to close all this. Right. I'm just going to start again on the Twitter because I think that was stuffing up. Duke Adler says, Wine Fund. Thank you, brother. How laughable is the US idea that they can foment regime change in a country they have previously betrayed? Again, it's a good point, mate. That is one of the problems. Is a lot of people are going to be going, hang on. Even if they want a regime change, the US will say it needs to be a pro-US regime. That's the problem. Is it's not just regime change; it's acceptable regime change, and that's difficult. Safe the Knife, thank you, as well as Dare the Machine. Love to have you back. Thank you. Trump doesn't want a liberal democracy. He wants a government that will work with them. Also, Iran had a government that was not under sanctions that would be a threat to Saudi Arabia. Well, but this opens up a lot of problems, doesn't it? That then you need a country that isn't that will work with them, that will sell them oil, that's then not a threat to Saudi. You can see the complexity starting to come into all of this. Ray says, Willie, I love watching your daily videos. You're always down to earth. Do we know that Khamenei is actually dead? The best we know, Ray, is that Iran themselves have said that he is. Now, beyond that, no. So I guess take that as you will, but that's all we know at this point. Just give me 1 second. I just want to replug something back in. Oh, we're back. Dude, Twitter sucks today. I literally can't load like a single Twitter page. You were lagging, bro. Yeah, I know. Nick Fuentes just tweeted, never Vance, never Rubio. The Iran war just lost a ticket for 28. Dude, this lag is ridiculous. But yes, Iran has said that Khamenei is dead. It could go on for days or it could go on for years. That's the problem, is we don't know. People already announcing victory, they're showing their inability to look at history or to analyze situations. I'm just going to see if I can change the quality of my camera because this is getting ridiculous. Shit, I don't know. Dude, OBS is shit. Australia internet for the win. Yeah, exactly. How good, hey? Pay a fortune in tax, pay a fortune on everything else, and then we can't even get internet that works. So this is in Iraq, I believe. Just let me scroll up. Oh, sorry, not Iraq. It's India-controlled Kashmir rose up and broke through barricades, carrying portraits of Khamenei. Did he die yesterday or this morning? That's hard with time zones. He died this morning. Oh, actually, It sounded like he died in the strikes on his compound. Benjamin Pryke says, thank you for always providing level-headed, rational perspectives in such a divided world. Your ability to leave politics and persuasions out of your reporting is unfortunately such a rare thing. Keep up the brilliant work from Benny Pryke. Thank you, Benny Pryke. And that brings us to 293. So we are $207 away from filling the goal of the wine fund. So there's large crowds in mourning in Tehran. There's people rioting in Iraq and also in Indian-controlled Kashmir region as well. Thomas says, keep up the good work, Willie. Did you watch Shapiro's take on it? Pretty interesting. Him trying to justify this being America first. Mate, Shapiro is by no measure in the largest amount of mental gymnastics America first whatsoever. Look at it like this. Guys like Shapiro, their whole business model is Americans hating each other. That is his business model. And once you start looking through it as that lens, you'll start to see that the jig is bullshit. Conan says, have you seen the S2 Underground Common Intelligence map? It seems like an interactive map with direct links providing proof might be a good resource while AMK dude sleeps. I have seen it. I just don't think my internet will be able to load it at this point in time. But thank you very much, Conan. I think Khamenei's 87 didn't do anything in life. He did a fair bit in his life. You missed my super chat from Ria Nora. Apologies, Ria Nora. I'm going back up. Let me find it. Sorry, I'm dealing with internet here. Try Starlink. I'd rather cut off my own hand before giving Elon Musk any more bloody money. Rhianora, I can't find your super chat. Unless it's right here. Oh, I can't find it. I missed super chat. Damn, I apologise. Can someone tell me what Rhianora's super chat was? I'd love Shapiro one day to try and sue someone for defamation, because I'd love to open, or someone open, discovery into finances. That would be unbelievable. Twice in a day, woke up at 5 a.m. watching Willie, went to bed at 11, still watching Willie. The Willie watchers, mate. Was asking if you thought Iran would fall apart at the end of the emerging multipolar order. No, Iran will still be a very important country in whatever order, whether it is multi, bi, or unipolar order evolves in the next, say, century. Iran, a lot of oil, a lot of land, and sits in a very important area of the world. So, Iran will still be very important to that, or always will be, to the powers that be. So, absolutely, this does not by any means slow down or stop a multipolar world developing, which has developed. We're in a multipolar world. I actually believe it speeds it up. It's just very funny to see that the one actually pushing for international order and restraint is actually China. That's the funniest thing, the complete switch up. Why is your cam laggy? Yes, I don't know how to do anything about that. Contact the National Broadband Network. Okay, new launches detected from Iran to Israel. Apparently. Michael says, watching from Texas. Howdy. I appreciate your coverage. Everyone stay safe out there. Thank you, brother. In before Syria 2.0. Yeah, it's likely something like that will get developed. Or it'll descend into that. Iran has launched a new wave of missiles towards Israel, aimed at central Israel. I have no idea how to fix this internet problem. Willie's out for Ayatollah. Mate, I'm replacing the Ayatollah. I'm the proxy government that the US is going to install. Dude, this is ridiculous. Let me just 1 second. I want to check something. I'm still here. I just want to check something on my internet that might be the problem. Dude, this is ridiculous. What the? People saying maybe it's OBS having issues. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm still laughing, by the way, at the message that came through yesterday when there was that like loud bang that occurred and someone said the Führer bunker has been hit. That is still making me laugh. I've been laughing about that all day. Oh, has this fully just glitched now? I think it has. Close that. Close that. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this. I think it's actually YouTube has frozen. Dude. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If this all falls apart, I apologize in advance. Dude, bloody Australia. Yeah, I'm trying to fix it. I apologize. I don't even know if it's still up anymore. It's like everything has just hit the fritz. Did any of this... Adrian Portelli's in Dubai. He said his business as usual. No one cares. Portelli's there just with his scammed billions of dollars, though. Oh, shit. What the fuck is going on now? My YouTube is all... What the... I apologize. I don't even know if you can hear me anymore. I have no idea what's... YouTube's now logged me out. So we need to set an extra layer of security to confirm it's you. Right, I am going to... I apologize, guys. I'm going to have to end the stream. I have no clue what is happening. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the radical regimes that we currently have in power in this country would actually shut down a stream. So people can hear me. Well, Lucas Solentha, this should have been a hot tub stream. Thank you from Canada. Thank you on the PayPal, brother. Fuck, I don't know the password to this. What the fuck? I have legitimately no clue what is happening in this. I can never believe, I remember talking to a YouTube like agent and saying, how can you be a $1 trillion company and have such a bad interface of every single thing? You can have 500,000 followers and you can't speak to someone at YouTube. You can make a living on this website. You take more than half my money. And I'm stopping the stream. I apologize.